Good afternoon once again. So today, I want to welcome you to this session. We have two topics that we need to cover, and these two topics are one, it is society, and then two, it's culture. Okay, so we want to understand what is a society, the definition of society, and then we also need to understand the characteristics of a society. Okay, what are the things that a given society actually can have? So those are the things that we are going to look at in this first section. So a society refers to a group of people that are living together and are actually having what we term as social interactions or social relationships. Okay, so you cannot talk about a society without talking about people. These people do interact. Okay, so how do they interact? They have a system of norms, values, or practices that they actually share, that they exhibit. Okay, so without people, we cannot talk about a society, because it is these people that act as agents of these social relations. So people do interact. Those interactions, we can term them as social relations. So when we talk about society, we're not only talking about a group of people, but these people should be interacting. Okay. So most societies are actually existing in an organized way. So you have formal organizations within societies. And then we have those that do not hardly have these organized these structures, these societies that are largely having relationships uh, that are not organized in a way. So what are the characteristics of a society? Like I said, a society should consist of people. Okay, so these people uh, are existing in different structures or different societal structures, or often what we can term as social institutions, where we have people in homes or families, people in schools, people in churches. These are social institutions, and they are made up of people. So when you're looking at a society, you're saying that you cannot define a society without people. Your definition should always have people or a group of individuals. Okay, so a society is made up of people and not only the institutions or structures that exist. So a society has people, it has social institutions and structures. If you don't have people, you have no society, and you don't have social relationships. Okay, so just like how you can think about a school, you can build very good structures for the school, but if you don't have students in that school, you cannot have a school. Basically, it is the students that actually make up the school. So a society also is made up of people, and if you don't have people, you don't have a society. The second thing is that we have interactions. Okay, we have interactions among people. People will always socialize, people will always connect, they will always have social relationships. Okay, so the more people do interface with one another, the more you have these relationships actually being created. Okay, so these relationships are the ones that result into cohesion, being together as a community, uh, and being able to solve problems as a community together. And then point number 3, we're saying that a society depends on likeness. This point is that people in a society usually have many similarities among themselves. So these similarities can be in terms of the language that they speak, their cultural practices. It can be how the activity that they do. Okay, you can have a farming community, you can have a fishing community. These people share a lot of things that basically like the same. Their ways of life are the same, so they look alike. There are many similarities amongst them, and the more you have a society where people um, have a lot of similarities that they share, the more that this society can be operating, and they can always understand uh, themselves. But we can also have societies where you have a lot of diversity, that also not all people within a particular society are always the same. Some societies are actually different, and that is what some societies have people that are not the same, they are different, they are diverse. So when you talk about diversity, you're talking about a society that has, let us say, the whites, that have the blacks, that have people from different uh, different parts of the world. Or it can be the same area. Let us say, for example, in South Sudan, we have we can talk about Central Equatoria, for example, and especially let us take the example of Juba, where you have very many tribes within Juba County. So when you move from one home to another, you realize that not all people are of the same tribal, share the same kind of cultural background. They are diverse. So that is diversity. But still, these people are also relating. So that is a society. So a society is not only about the characteristics that are similar, but it can also be about characteristics that they don't really share, and that is about diversity. Okay, so when you talk about a society where you don't have diversity, then it means that the relationships are actually also limited, and you cannot talk about cultural richness. Okay, cultural richness is when you have a society that is composed of people from different cultures. So that is richness. So the society is actually rich in that regard. And then the last point here, reciprocity and contribution are enhanced through differences. This point here is very important. Usually they say that the diversity, cooperation through diversity, that even if we are people from different societal backgrounds, we can still work together to promote our well-being as people coming together. Okay, what we often hear as being said as unity in diversity. Unity in diversity, and I think this is one of the problems that we have in our country. Okay, cattle rustling. So you have communities that are traditionally having rivalries and conflicts with the neighbors. Okay, so in terms of diversity, these communities usually are composed of particular ethnic groupings, and then they attack another community. Okay, so there is no unity because of these ethnic groupings. People come from different ethnic groups, so the cultures are different, and then they clash. So when we talk about unity in diversity, okay, which is a very important message that we can be united even if we come from different cultures. It is one of the problems that we have failed to manage as a country. Okay, so some of the problems that we actually have are because of the fact that we cannot recognize that we can be united in diversity. So the word reciprocal here means that if you do something good to me, I will also do something good to you. Okay, so even if we are not the same, if you do something good to me, I will also do something good to you. That is reciprocity. But also, if you do something bad to me, it is likely that I will also revenge. And we also have those tendencies in our country where we have revenge killings. So that is what happens. And then in a society, you have division of labor and the cooperation. So this means that even when you look at the communities where you come from or where you reside, you understand that there are some people within these communities that actually do particular jobs. Okay, you have people who are particular tribe where are very good at fishing, a particular tribe that is very good at layering, let us say, cattle. You have a particular group that is good at even those that are good at slaughtering. Okay, slaughtering these animals. So you have like specialization, people doing different activities, shared activities. Okay, and then interdependence. Okay, that because you have different communities doing different things, you will have different communities or different individual groups of people depending on each other for the things that they need in life. Even when you look at a family level, you still have interdependence because a man will depend on a woman for a number of things, and then the woman will also depend on a man for a number of things. Okay, so societies can only grow when they depend on one another, and if they can interdepend, then we expect that we can have uh, cohesion and you don't have conflicts. Okay, so cooperation is actually one of the ways in which some of these conflicts can actually go away. But you cannot cooperate when you don't have when you don't respect the fact that you depend on one another. You need to one another basically survive. The society will never be the same, so it is always dynamic. So it is always changing. When we say it is dynamic, it is always changing. It will never remain the same. It will never be static. Okay, so what are the things that cause these changes in societies? It can be issues to do with the technology. It can be issues to do with immigration, other people coming into a particular society, okay, and learning certain cultures from these other people who have come in, conflicts, climate change, a number of things can change the way the society exists. Okay, so humans, we are always we always have that trait or that characteristic of always being dynamic, that we keep adapting. Actually, if you don't change, it can never be good for you. You need to always change. Societies have what we call social control. Okay, we shall look at what we term as agents of socialization. Some of these agents of socialization are very important in social control. Okay, humans, we are not animals. There is a way we are expected to live, and some people do not want to follow the behaviors that are expected of them. Okay, so you have that problem. Now, when you have that problem, you need to, as a society, needs to have laws, policies, penalties, or rewards to control this behavior. Okay, so social control is about controlling human behavior such that you don't have a society that is always in conflict. So I had explained this point where I was basically saying that a society should have social control mechanisms. We have the police, we have schools, we have even community courts. All the things are aimed at ensuring that people live to the or exhibit the expected behavior, such that they don't misbehave. Culture. Culture consists of values, norms, beliefs, artifacts, morals, attitudes, almost everything. Our ways of life, the way we do things, the way we eat, the way we dress, the way we dance, our marriage processes, all those things they fall under what we term as culture. Okay, we often say that without culture you are not grounded, you are not deeply rooted. So any person should be grounded in culture. Okay, everyone, we have learned cultural values, cultural norms, how we do things according to our cultures. So cultures are not the same; they are always different. We have societies where we have cultural richness that I've talked about. That if you have different people from different groups staying together and interrelating, that is you have sometimes we use the word cosmopolitan culture or cosmopolitan societies, especially the towns. You go to these big towns, whether it is New York, whether you go to, for example, here Addis, even Nairobi. So I was talking about cosmopolitan societies, where you have different people with different cultures and they are all living together harmoniously, almost everyone going on with whatever they are doing. So those societies, we say that they are characterized by cultural richness. Okay, so they have diverse cultures, but these people are actually staying together. We learn our cultural ways of doing things through conversations or socialization. We basically learn these cultures. So the last characteristic that you're talking about here is the fact that humans will always want to live in groups. Okay, so that trait is what we are calling gregarious nature. Gregarious, that we always want to be in groups, and this is very important. Existing in groups, for example, for animals, it offers many advantages. It is the same thing to humans, that we always want to be where people are. And for example, in our context in Juba here, there are two factors that you always look at when you are going to buy a plot. One is the cost. Two is whether you have people there. If you have people there, then you're like, okay, that's a good place. There are people there. So that is a point that emphasizes the fact that we always want to live together. Okay, so that is the last characteristic of a society. So let me ask a question. If you are to describe the societies that we have in South Sudan, what characterizations can you give to describe our societies? You can also relate the characteristics of these societies to other societies in other places. Let us say, for example, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia. or even Egypt. How are those societies different from the societies of South Sudan? Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for this question, Mr. Bosco. I think if you look at South Sudan's culture, there are some influences of other cultures being really influencing our cultures. That really makes it to be so complex. You know, we are living in a very dynamic culture because there are a lot of influences from other cultures that is really diluting our cultures. Look at the language issue. You know, is one of the characteristics that really distinguish us. But as you can also see, most of our people now, we are also forgetting or we are not learning our own languages. You know, this is really a threat to our culture because, you know, language is an identity. But if you look at our young ones now, you know, either they speak Arabic language or English language fluently. If you ask them, you know, some tribes, the young ones are hardly they can speak their local language. You know, the way of marriages are changing. You know, we are adapting a lot of things. So I can see there are a lot of threats to our culture as South Sudanese cultures. That's my explanation to this question. Although I know this is not the answer to the question, but I'm just looking at the broader aspect of the influences. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good answer. That's a very good answer because it points to many things. One of the things that it points to is whether we are an open society or a closed society. For example, we have some societies that are actually within South Sudan here, and it is very difficult for you to actually marry from the society. Okay, it is almost unheard of in some of these societies that you have, for example, intermarriages. Okay, so in our context, that is one of the features that we have. That um, even I think we are open. We are open as a society. The society, largely, most of the societies are actually open, and that's why we have foreigners almost in every corner of this country. So we are open. We are open to receiving, and we are also open to marriages to people that are not from our ethnic backgrounds or even nationalities. But also within South Sudan, we can also have, for example, societies that are composed of people that are not what I can term as natives, and they are very closed. You can't marry from there, and you don't know their cultural practices. You see, some of like what you described in terms of marriage. Uh, most of the marriages in South Sudan are actually done in the open. Okay, and then for closed societies, the marriages happen indoors, and you never know that there's a marriage ceremony in there. So it is very hard to enter such a closed society because things that are there almost boundaries around. And now the consequences, like what you have just termed there, like our children do not know our languages, our native languages. This is a problem that we are facing in this generation, and it's not all actually all limited to us here in South Sudan, but also even other places. African middle class families are having this problem.